I'm Coach Corey Wayne, and this is my video coaching newsletter. And the topic of this newsletter is going to be my endless apology tour. Well, I've got an email here from a viewer who basically is having a problem because he's saying that the woman that he's been dating for about a year and 4 months is basically, he says he's constantly apologizing for things, even things that he didn't even know were his fault, because basically she's constantly pissed off at him and constantly blaming him for everything. So obviously there are some serious communication issues and attraction issues going on in there that are creating all kinds of turmoil and problems in his relationship. So I got a quote that I wrote. It says, "When you allow another person to constantly violate yourself, your dignity, shoot your dreams down, insult you, or generally make you feel guilty for being you, seek to understand the pain that they are feeling inside that is causing them to project their own feelings of self-hatred, self-loathing, or hurt onto you. Then you can either help them and help heal them, or relocate to more positive places and people. We never do or say anything that isn't a direct reflection of how we feel about ourselves in the present moment." In other words, we're always projecting what is inside of us onto other people. And the worst thing that you can do in any situation, not just in your intimate relationships, but whether you're working for somebody or in your friendships or just people you meet out in public, is to allow another person to berate you and put you down and constantly make you feel like shit or feel ashamed of yourself, and then sit there and take that. That's the worst thing you can do, because if you have no self-love and no self-respect, you'll just sit there and take that kind of crap. And because a lot of what I see, and I've been talking about this a lot lately, is like overall globally, the big problem that I see if I was with people in their relationships or that are having trouble in their relationships is too many people, men and women both, get hung up on people who aren't really paying much attention to them, or they're holding out hope that something may change in the future. And what that does, it just prevents you from meeting anybody new in the future. And like I was actually, just before I started this video, I was talking to a client of mine who I talk with on a regular basis, and every week he's doing really well online. He's got a very active social life. He's got a very successful business. And so one of the things that he's doing is, because even though he meets a lot of people in his personal practice, his business, out in public he tends to be a little more timid about making conversations with strangers. And so I told him about going to the mall and practicing there, and one of the things that he did this past weekend was he actually went to Grand Central Station. And this is to show you how funny it is, because the idea is that if you interact with enough women, you're going to see the difference between ones that really like you and those that don't. And when I first started working with him, he had been dating this girl that it didn't work out with her like a year ago. But he really liked her, and he really regretted that things didn't work out. And so he called her and started rekindling things, and she just wasn't making the kind of effort that she needed to be making. She was kind of flaky. She'd say she was really into things, but she just wouldn't show it. She was always constantly holding back. And it was just fucking driving him bananas. And so he recently went out on a date, I think it was two weeks ago, with this gal that he met online. And he ended up, she came to his place, came to his apartment building on their first date. He walked downstairs, and then they went around the corner, had some wine. Actually, no, I take that back. She came over, they went up to his place. Now, keep in mind, he's never met this girl. He didn't talk to her for about 10 minutes on the phone. But she chose him. He modeled his online dating profile and Match after what I teach in the Ultimate Online Dating Profile. And so what happened was she chose him. She liked him. She liked his pictures. She liked his profile, what he had to say. She liked what she heard on the phone. So he made a date. She showed up because she already liked him at his place. He invited her up. They had a glass of wine. Then they went out down the street, had some dinner, maybe some appetizers, I think it was. And then they walked back to his place. And he says, "Would you care to come up for a nightcap?" And she's like, "Sure." She comes up for a nightcap. They start having their nightcap. He makes a move. One thing leads to another. and he's balls deep in her ass later, and they had a great time. And she had a great experience with him. And then a day or two later, she's calling him, she's texting him, had a great time, wanting to know what he's up to in the next few days. He makes a second date. She ends up, and then so he happens to be out, and I think he was going to meet up with her after he had hung out with a buddy of his. And so he ends up, she's like, oh, no, I'll just come to where you're at. Totally flexible, great attitude. And so she goes, and they end up hanging out, and his buddy ends up leaving, and then he ends up going back to his place again, having great sex with her, and he hasn't gone out and spent tons of money or anything. She just came over to his place, basically. They hung out, they had fun, and they hooked up. And so the thing I was pointing out to him is, like, do you notice how easy it is? He's like, yeah, I don't really have to do anything. He's like, this girl's calling me 3 or 4 times a day, and it's just, she wants to get together with me later on in the week. And I said, that's the difference. It's like the girl that when you first hired me, was giving you all this trouble, and even though you really like this girl, now he's going out with this other girl that he met online. She got a great attitude. She comes over his place. She has sex with him first night, and she's growing on him, and he likes her. And so he went to, this past weekend, to Grand Central Station as part of his work to get better, to improve his social skills talking to people in public. And so he thought, you know what, let me just go ahead and see if I can create a bad experience here so I can get it over with. Because at the end of the day, people that have a problem talking to people in public, that's one of the things they worry about. And so he starts walking around Grand Central Station going, do you know where Grand Central Station is? And most everybody is very kind and helpful to him, right? He's like, you're in Grand Central Station. It's like, fucking hello. It's like, he said he had one person that looked at him kind of like, kind of like you ever saw the movie Forrest Gump. Are you stupid or something? It was kind of gave him that look, but he's like, I'm asking the most ridiculously obvious statement here just to see what people... It's like people are giving him advice. Some people are like, gee, I don't know. And they're in Grand Central Station, and they don't even fucking know either. I mean, it's pretty hilarious that those things happen, but that's why it's like what I teach people to do is to go out and apply this stuff, because that's what you see. And you go out on enough dates with enough different women, you see the difference between... It really makes a difference going out with a girl who really likes you, who has a high level of attraction and interest, versus a girl who, like, you're just kind of barely hanging on by your fingernails, so to speak, or like you just barely meet her minimum standards of what's physically acceptably attractive to her. Instead, you go out with a girl who really digs you, she's got a good attitude, she's just meeting you out wherever you are, and like the cool thing is at the end of the night, she leaves, she doesn't stay over. It's like, it's the best way to be. No attachments, not giving them an attitude. Comes over, has great fun with them, great body, beautiful girl, has great sex, natural boobs. It's like, that's exactly what you want. But the idea is you don't get to that level unless you interact with enough women to realize that dealing with drama and dealing with women that are a fucking pain in the ass, like what this guy's having to put up with, it ain't fucking worth it. So he says, I started dating my girl about 1 year and 4 months ago. He said, I started out fulfilling her desires and her longing. I kept impressing her no matter what, as far as I could afford it. Well, that tells me you're trying to bribe her with gifts and expensive dates and stuff, so that's not really a good mindset to have. That's the kind of mindset of a guy who believes he's got something to prove himself, something to prove to women. And the only guys that feel like they got to prove themselves to women are guys that believe what they've seen on TV. Because men who are successful in life, successful with women, successful in all areas, they feel that even if they're not successful right now, that they're in the process of becoming successful. So it's a completely different mindset, a completely different vibe that they're putting out. He said, I didn't instill any discipline in her on how to relate and behave with me, hoping she will find out what I want. He says, in fact, now it has constantly become a case where I come apologizing over things I never in this world should be pleading for. It's like, man. He says, I'm always wrong and should apologize at all times. He says, in fact, she recently said her ex always came apologizing many times, even when she is at fault. Yeah, because he's just trying to say, okay, it's my fault, I fucked up, now can we get over this and move on and get back to having sex? Because that's basically the attitude of the average guy. And like, you see this on TV a lot, you see it in movies. Oh my God, she's pissed off, I don't want to piss off my wife, Don't want to piss off my girlfriend because she won't give me any pussy later. And so they just proceed to go prancing around, kissing her ass, acting like her butler, doing all these gay male girlfriend, her manservant, acting like all these demeaning type of things. And of course, in the movies and on TV, she forgives them, and that's the thing to do. But when you do it in real life, this is what actually happens in real life when you do the shit that you see on TV. He's constantly apologizing, and no matter what he does, it's never good enough. Because at the end of the day, what she really wants is she wants him to stand up for himself and be a fucking man and stop letting her walk all over him. He says she's so emotional that I tell her what she did wrong, and after which I tend to get cold. I get a cold fit back from her. Yeah, it's like, because you're using logic and reason when you're dealing with an emotional being. So she's speaking an emotional language, an emotional, relational type of language, trying to communicate what her needs are, what her wants, how you've hurt her, why she's upset, what's going on inside. And instead, you're trying to solve the problem, and you're trying to place the blame on her and say it's all of her fault. When at the end of the day, what's really going on at the deepest level is you have failed to lead as a man. You have failed to properly court her and communicate with her and open her up emotionally. And so what you have now is you have a bitchy, pissed off woman who feels like you don't care about her because you don't know how to communicate with her in a way that makes her feel like you actually understand her. And so what happens is, over time, you went the route of trying to apologize, and that doesn't work because no matter what you do what she says she wants you to do, and yet she's still pissed off. Because at the end of the day, you're not being a man and doing what you know you need to do in your own life. So he says, I still will be the person apologizing over my correcting or scolding her, and she now yells at me and gives me crazy attitude that I don't think I can ever stand. It's become a big piss off. I eventually see myself as the male girlfriend, and I think that stinks like a sewage pipe to my ears. He says, yes, we love each other, but I don't think I want to continue with my weak, ever-bending, compromising decisions that all over her in the name of love. Some 3 days back, I made it clear to her that I will never take such treatment anymore, and I assume my responsibility over her in my relationship if we will remain in it. In other words, you said, I'm not going to take this shit anymore. And so you need to mean that. Because this girl is used to walking all over you, and so she probably didn't believe you when you said that. And so she's going to come right back at you with the same kind of behavior. And what you need to do, you say, honey, I love you. We've talked about this, but you're mistreating me again. So either you treat me nice or I'm leaving. And if she won't treat you nice the way you want, then you got to pack up your shit and fucking walk out the door, go hang out with your buddies, go do something else. And let her call you when she decides to communicate like an adult. He says, ever since then, she has been dull, non-lively, and annoying, and she gives me a one-word answer, just as she does before. This time I don't call more than once or mostly twice a day. You're definitely over-pursuing this girl, dude. Bad way to go. He says, I miss her calls, and I don't have the time to hear her boredom out. I want to give her a push, but it seems like she wants to be naughty. I just want to know if my measures are not too extreme to destroy the whole thing. Well, if she's mistreating you and she's giving you the silent treatment, wait to hear from her. You know, if she won't treat you the way you want to be treated, you going and hanging out with her is just reinforcing that it's okay to abuse you. And so if you've left because she won't treat you the way you want to be treated, then just say, give me a call when you want to talk and communicate like an adult. And what you need to do is immediately immerse yourself in my book. So go to my website right now. Underneath the email sign-up box, there's a box that has a link that'll take you right to the Amazon Kindle download page for my book. You don't have to have a Kindle device. Just download one of their free e-reader apps for whatever electronic device that you want to read my book on. And one thing, once you get through the book, I would also highly recommend that you book a phone coaching session with me. I did a video a while back called How to Communicate with Women Effectively, and I highly encourage you, if you're having communication problems in your own relationship, to watch that video and apply it. And also, I discuss this extensively in my book. So I also recommend go to my website, click the products tab, and book a paid phone coaching session with me. I will talk to you soon.